first caller is Joey joining us from New York. He's been waiting since the start of the show. Joe, you're on the air.
Thanks, Eddie, for taking my call. A couple of things, Eddie. I want to first say thank you for that incredible and very telling interview with Mick Mars yesterday. It had to be, I'm only guessing it had to be very a challenging interview for you, just because you have these well-built friendships with all of the parties involved. As far as John Five, you make it very clear you're close with him. Mick Mars, Nikki Sixx, who you had said that he was even texting you as the build-up for the Mick Mars interview was coming. So I congratulate you, because your interview was so good, because there was nothing filthy about it. It was just a really great interview that you really get a sense of not only the incredible song that he's released, but you get a sense of him, his spirit, where he is, where he's at, as far as in his life, So I'll start saying thank you for that interview, because it had to be.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm a true, real Motley Crue fan. As far as when that Shout at the Devil and came out, that was it for me. It hurts for maybe Nikki Sixx is listening to this. Maybe, I don't know.
No, he's in Japan right now. He's in Japan.
Well, he still might be listening, but
because everything gets up out there on the internet. So you're right, yeah, for sure.
No, I just want to say, as a true Motley Crue fan, I would ask. He recently said that he feels the fans are being manipulated. We're so hurt because of what's going on, we have to remember this legacy thing. Mick has made it really clear yesterday. He makes it clear he's an older guy, and he according to him, he may only have 7 years. I hope he has a lot more. But this fight, which even though he didn't speak about the lawsuit, Eddie, if you listen to that interview, indirectly he's speaking about what this thing is about, and it's about, as you always say, it's always about money. But it's about money, but. This is an older guy who invested his whole life into what he called his band. This was his heart and soul, and it was. I know it's Nikki's and everyone else's too, but interestingly, when I called, and I was the first one calling because I wanted to talk about this today, I wanted to bring up Don Dokken. It's crazy that you're talking to him tomorrow, because Don has a record out now that he's releasing that's also really good. And he brought up, this Dokken war with, especially with Lynch, right? Him and Lynch. You would never imagine that these two guys would ever talk again. And there they are on stage, and they get along. They're gonna live this life, passing away with a friendship that was preserved. And if this is about money, families break up for this. He has a little bit of time left. I would ask Nikki and the band to rethink this. And about Don Dokken, he said that since the beginning, he always made sure that everyone was a four-way split, and that even Mick Brown, even if he sat in the room behind his drums and didn't share anything of the song that was being written, it was always going to be a four-way split. And it's in my opinion that Dokken's able to get on stage together. They are able to all be friendly because of that.
Yeah.
I want to hear this.
Yeah, no, Joey, I don't mean to cut you off, but I got a ton of calls, and I want to. You waited for a long time, so I wanted to make your point. And I'll try to address some of this. But thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. And look, going back to Joey's first point, the reality of things with me, and I appreciate what Joey says about me doing these interviews, because sometimes it is a bit of a tightrope, because when you've been doing something, as I have talking to rock guys for 40 years, inevitably, it's extraordinarily rare that anybody ever comes on this show that I don't know in some way. Some of these guys I know very, very well, and they're friends, and we text and we talk. Some of these guys, we talk when they've got something to promote or when we do something together. But when you've been doing this 40 years, and these guys have been doing this 35, 40 years, even that, these guys very well, just even if it's just a couple times a year, because that could mean 70 times you've talked to him, at least on the air. So, but I just play it down the middle. I let everybody say their piece. I will interject where I have to, and I'll do what I have to. But in the case of the thing with Mick is, I know Nikki, and he did text me a couple days ago to offer me the box set for Shout, which is very nice of him. Everybody knows my relationship with John Five, who now comes into Motley Crue. And Mick, I've known Mick for a while. Again, I met him when I was a kid, which we touched on yesterday. But again, my thing is my door's open to all. And you, the audience, and I will steer and direct and interject where I have to, but ultimately you, the audience, makes your assessments on all these things when there are these divides. And as I say all the time, you vote with your wallet. That's one of the unfortunate things with the whole Kiss situation, a band that's so important to me and that I love so much growing up, in that, over the years, Ace and Peter are the guys that always come on this show, and Paul and Gene refuse to, so you're only going to get their side. I would be incredibly fair to those guys if they ever came on. By the way, Gene might, Tommy might, Eric might, after Kiss allegedly ends next month. Because the only reason why they don't is because, they don't want to upset Paul. Tell you another thing, Paul's son, the person working his record, and his record was, Paul, if you haven't heard, Paul's son, I forget the name of his band. They've a band now, Something Wild, I think. He used to just go under his own name, Evan Stanley, but now it's a band. But somebody sent me some material, a couple songs, and his son's band is going to open and is opening these final Kiss shows right now. The band is called Amber Wild. And a promo guy sent me the songs and said, would you be interested in having Evan on and talking about this? I said, yeah. Younger guy. Even, so what if his father's Paul Stanley? So what if he's opening for Kiss? That, as we've seen a million times, those are not immediate tickets to stardom. There's a million guys who have famous parents who did not make it in music. Tons. Just because you're opening for a band in an arena does not mean it's a ticket to making it in music. D-Generation opened for Kiss. I love D-Generation. Where are they now? The idea of you open for an arena band, your set is so far-fetched, it's not even funny. My point being is, everybody can use a shot. So I offered for him to come on and was connected with him, and as soon as it was me, it was crickets. It's so silly, it's not even funny. For whatever reason, fine. But that's what I'm saying. It's like people, I'm always going to give everybody a fair shake, no matter what's going on, and, ask the questions that need to be asked, and you guys, the chips will fall where they may. As far as the Motley situation, at this point, I don't even know what the lawsuit is really about. Because, again, Mick couldn't talk about it yesterday, which I understand, and I will never push on legal stuff. But I think my understanding from what has come out and what was in Rolling Stone and the interviews that were happening, because that's the weird thing about the Motley thing. It was the lawsuit initially, and the grievance was very public. Mick did interviews where he laid him out and said all the stuff. And then Nikki was actually in an interview in Rolling Stone where he countered along with Motley's manager. And now it's gone completely silent. And as you heard yesterday, Mick said he can't talk about it, which means both lawyers have, for the respective sides, have decided to take it behind the scenes and instructed their clients not to talk about it. But, my understanding is about that situation is Mick maintains that he is still a member of the band legally and deserves to be paid still on anything that they do, his cut. And Motley's position is, and Motley meaning Nikki and the manager, is, no, you're out of the band. You don't still get paid when you're not doing the travel and the work and the shows. And Mick's thing is, I never said I was out of the band. I just said I couldn't tour, and I'm still maintaining my percentage of ownership. And by the way, That's not an uncommon thing when somebody leaves. When somebody leaves a band and they're an original member, if they're actually a member and not a hired gun, usually the remaining original members try to buy that person out and give them a lump sum to leave, so they don't have to pay him anymore. They don't have to deal with him anymore. But sometimes the person who's leaving, especially if they don't need the money right then, say, no, I want to maintain some percentage in the band. Meaning that those people will have to keep paying them. It's paying somebody alimony or something. You got to pay it for a certain period of time, even if the person's not in the band, because the way the contract is written and the way the agreement is. There are cases where there are people that have not been in bands for a very long time who have been sitting at home but still get paid on merch, record sales, concerts, even though they haven't been in the band in years. And there are others that got one big chunk, here's a check, go away, and that's it. But what happens over time, sometimes those people get pissed off about it. I didn't get enough. I should have gotten more. I didn't know you're going to keep going. I didn't know you'd keep doing this business. I mean, Peter and Ace and Kiss. How is it that as we speak right now, there's two other guys wearing their makeup, doing their thing? Because they took a deal 40 years ago. We just talked about it at the top of the show today, the thing with the Guess Who. Lawsuit announced with that band from the 70s. The two main guys gave the name away to the two other guys since 1977, and now they're sick of it, and they're going after them and want $20 million. Go back to the start of the show if you missed that story. So these stories are rampant out there. They're not all that unusual. Where it lands for Mick and Motley, I don't know. But clearly, Motley wants to keep going. Mick could not do it. He obviously cannot do the travel. And he seems very, very happy with this record that he's made, and I'm happy for him for that.